Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Larkin, one half of the Steve and Mike Show. www.steveandmikeshow.com is up and running, where you can hear such shows as you're about to hear tonight. This is another edition of On the Mic with Mike, and I am pleased to have on the beautiful, the lovely, the talented Miss Chloe Cummings. Chloe, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Why, thank you. It's a pleasure to be on your show. An
Awesome.
honor.
Well, first and foremost, I gotta say, I dig your work. We're gonna talk about sessions wrestling. We're gonna talk about a lot and incorporate a lot of elements into this show. So I gotta just say, first and foremost, I appreciate it. If Delight, first and foremost, you, Delight De La Cruz, Mistress Cat, all three of you are a hell of a tandem, hell of a trio, and you do the damn thing each and every time that you step in there.
Thank you. We have fun with it. I think we're pretty amazing too.
Well, there's a lot of badassery in it. I mean, here's the thing: the common misconception that a lot of people see with sessions wrestling is because you just see you see a lot of leg scissors holds and stuff, and there's a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of training that goes into it, and you all apply your crafts to the best of your ability. So again, with the most sincere respect, I applaud your efforts.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it is hard work, but the whole aspect of it, but it's definitely worth it, and the best thing, I've really, aside from my children, that I've ever done. So.
Well, I gotta say this to you. Now, everybody has a very interesting story how they get into whatever endeavor that they may have, or whatever endeavor that they may be into, but how did you get into this crazy world that is sessions wrestling?
Funny that you say that everybody has an interesting story. Mine is probably a little more interesting and dramatic than most, but I'm not going to go into all of that. To make a long, complicated story short and
Gotcha.
easier to understand, I had somebody that I worked with, a guy that I worked with, his girlfriend did this, and he was always kind of he was real into it, and he was always kind of looking for people. So he kind of hooked me up with her, and we got started. Now, at first, I was just doing some videos with her, and I didn't think the whole they had told me about what session wrestling was and everything. I'd never wrestled anybody before in my life, and I didn't think I was that strong and all this stuff. But I was also kind of looking for what to do with my life, what I want to be when I grow up. And my approaching 40 there. And this was brought up to me, and I looked at her, and I'm like, listen, I mean, no offense to her, but I was like, this girl can do it. She's a normal person. I'll give it a try. I'll make some extra money, right? It was around Christmas. And I never planned on, taking it as far as I did. I never planned on loving it. I really feel like this is something that I meant to do. It is funny how things come about sometimes, though, because there was a lot of bad in that good. But, I went through a lot of stuff, and in the beginning with this, and it's brought me to where I am. So, I mean, it's amazing. Life amazes me all the time.
I think that first and foremost, that's a great story. I mean, I look at it like this. Also, you talk about, age and, we're going to be 40. Well, age ain't nothing but a number, to quote the late, great Aaliyah, because that very applies to a lot of things in life. Because, I mean, if I'll be honest with you, I mentioned Delight, I mentioned Mistress Cat. There's a lot of great, talented people in the session world that look great like yourself, and a lot of people that work hard. So I got to say, I think everybody has a plan, and everything, everybody has a purpose, everybody has a reasoning for what they do, and sessions wrestling happens to be your purpose. So I mean, here you are.
Right. And I mean, in a way, and I've kind of always thought this, as this grew on me, and as I started to develop and become really good at what I do, and surprising myself at that, I also thought, what kind of a neat success story, because my life up until this time has had a lot of bumps and bruises and insecurities and kind of some crazy events, and I don't know, to fall into something like this at the age that I did, like I said, approaching 40, and to take it as far as I have so far, and to keep, I'm going to be taking it even further. I mean, I'm going to do this as long as I can. It's neat when you hear about, even I saw something on Facebook about people who started, all the people in the past. I can't think of anyone as an example right now, I think because I'm nervous, but people in the past who have started these great careers when they were, even older than me, famous people that we admire from history, and how old they were when they did it. And it's just, I didn't know how to wrestle or anything. And now, I mean, I'm pretty good. I can keep getting better. But it's just, being a businesswoman, that's never something I thought I could do. So, like, the whole thing has been amazing.
I guess to provide an example, like you look at wrestling, like look at Diamond Dallas Page, what he's doing now with DDP Yogi. You look at Batista, he went from pro wrestler to this movie star. I mean, these are guys that got into wrestling late and they had hell of a career. So I mean, if you could, doesn't matter what age or whatever, as long as you get into it, you're passionate about it, you pay your dues, you kick ass, you take names, and you're a consummate pro like yourself, Miss Cummings. I think again, to reiterate, all is worth it.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. You're right. I mean, there's a lot. There's more people than we even know out there in this field. Even I'm sure, and like you said, in pro wrestling, and for sure.
Now, I have to ask you, because there's a lot of tie-ins and correlations with the pro wrestling and MMA world. I mean, we look at what Ronda Rousey's done in the UFC and where she was in WWE. You look at Shayna Baszler and Jessamine Duke, who were in the all-women's Invicta promotion owned by Shannon Knapp. Now they're in NXT. You look at, your Dan Severns, your Ken Shamrocks, your Tank Abbotts, your Brock Lesnar, CM Punk dabbling into it. I wanted to ask you, what do you think about the tie-ins and correlations that we see from MMA and the pro wrestling world? Because both great art forms, both great, organizations. What do you think about those tie-ins and correlations that we've seen over the years?
To be honest with you, like this is something that that is so new to me that I never paid attention to wrestling, like until I started this. And I've been getting into that stuff more and more as well. I mean, I wouldn't even been able to tell you what MMA is. I did not watch pro wrestling. My grandmother watched pro wrestling growing up, and it's just because I wasn't around her, nobody I was around did it, and now it's something that I find so interesting, and I feel like I'm trying to play catch up from all these years, and there's still, but I still feel like I'm a newbie to the entire world. So I don't know if I could answer that real accurately.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I think you gave the best honest answer, because perfect example, and I'll say this to you, a lot of wrestlers that I've even interviewed on the show, what's amazing about people's stories and what they get into is sometimes like they'll be a fan of it like when they were a kid, right? This is something that they're set on, or they watch a family. Some people get into it like later in life, and like yourself, and you get to learn, because here's the thing, in life, you never stop learning. You're always on the grind. You never stop learning. You learn something new every day, and it's a very, patent, saying, and very true and sentiment-wise and overall verbiage. But, you can learn some things. So I think you actually answered that very accurately and very brutally honest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, that's something I try very hard to be. I don't want to pretend to be something that I am not, and even in my, the characters that I bring to the session world and my role playing, I mean, there's always a bit of me in there, so like everything is very honest.
Oh yeah,
very cool.
With your overall character and your overall consummate professionalism, you can add. It's pretty much you, just with the volume turned up. You turn yourself up some notches, but it's you, and you're having fun, and you exude and accentuate that with what you do in each and every bout. Like for example, what you're doing with Brutal Beauty Catfight League. I got to give a shout out to Brutal Beauties and Mark Gagliardi. I've seen your stuff that you've been doing there. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think Mark's got a hell of an organization on his hands.
Oh my God, he sure does. And, once again, like this cat fighting thing is all new to me too. I had somebody request a costume for Kat and I to do actually a cat fight. And that was, I guess when I kind of came back after my little 3-month hiatus there. And that's when I started getting into that. And oh my God, I am so ready, especially after watching what happened with the last fight and, talking a lot and finding out, just from like fans and stuff about that world and how it works. And I mean, I'm just blown away. Like, I think the Brutal Beauties Cat Fight League is, I mean, something I'm very, very proud to be a part of. My fight has been pushed back due to kind of some scheduling things with some of the girls. So it just made more sense to kind of move mine and also be able to give a different type of fight. Like, Mark's still learning all of this stuff, and I think his ideas and how he does is just so professional and incredible to watch, and I admire it. He's still new to this stuff too, So, like, he's got a passion, though, and he's got a passion for all the girls that fight for him. I mean, if anybody knew how he talked about each and every one who had fought for him already and how respectable he is, and he's got a great thing going on, because I really feel like I've learned, and in this industry too, like, honest, good people, and I know he puts off a different persona, like online, but like at the core, the way he is with us and with our fans, he's a really good person, and good people in this industry seem to do really well. I mean, I feel like there's some shady people that can make it work for a little while, but you can't. I don't know. I think it's important to try to be a really good person, and some people don't even realize they're trying, and they are. And maybe Mark's kind of like that, but I'm excited to see how it grows and what happens with it. Because I kind of know some like inside ideas that he has that, I'm not gonna throw out there. I'll things that he's tossing around, and I'll let him do that. But I mean, it's a great thing. I can't wait. I'm so anxious to get out there and do it myself.
Of course. I mean, Mark wants that spectacle, and he wants to have that pageantry that goes into each and every one of these events, and he's a showman. He's a showman, and I think, yes, he may portray what he does on Twitter, but at the end of it, in the root of all things, I mean, he wants to have a very entertaining show for everybody to enjoy, and, just to put out there for people to engage with. Enjoy and engage. There's the two words for you. So, I mean, I think all in all, the overall presentation is going to come into fruition. It's going to be absolutely spectacular.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's so cool to be here, to be such a big part of it, like right at the beginning. Even though I haven't fought yet, just getting so close to him and the people who have, and like my two best friends did the first fights, and I mean, it's just really cool. I saw those fights live, and I have never been to a live event that I love more. I mean, I went and saw Hamilton. I love musicals. I saw Hamilton not that long ago, and I think watching those cat fights was better than that. I was just like on the edge of my seat. You can see me from God, because I was probably making all kinds of faces. I was like being stage mom. It was pretty freaking cool. I would have paid a lot of money to do that, and I got to do it for free. So.
And I think, like you talk about being an integral role and you haven't even fought yet, I think that just shows that, he sees something in you, and we're going to see a lot to go forward with you, Miss Cummings, as far as the, Brutal Beauties goes. So, I mean, obviously that's very rewarding, and also you get the behind-the-scenes aspect and everything that goes into it. So, I mean, again, kudos to you, just because, you're being like a featured asset. So.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to look at it that way, and I think you're right, and that always makes me really happy and makes me feel good about the path that I'm going. So yeah, thanks.
You're very welcome. I see what we're doing there. Selena Sky, Delight Dela Cruz. I mean, Jada Silk. I mean, I'm talking about Davina. I'm talking about Vanessa Villano, yourself. There's a lot of core and key elements in there, and I can't wait to see what more fights we have coming up, and you as well getting in there.
Yeah, me too. I'm really excited.
I'm really excited. It's no problem. And I look at it like this, because I'll be honest with you. The first time I ever heard about catfighting was actually when I was a kid. WrestleMania 19, they had the Miller Lite catfight girls taking on Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler. So that's my first, that was my first time I ever heard the term catfight. And also ECW when Joey Styles is yelling out catfight. But then you see all these leagues coming to fruition, like what Mark's doing, and like everybody doing these said events and whatever. So I was intrigued, and also just, I don't look at it like, oh, these are just girls and, they're sexy, they're beautiful, but there's also, they're athletic, and you look into it, and which will tie in and correlate to LFC here, and I'll say it again, beauty, strength, and dominance, the three key elements that make up women for who they are, the work of art. And this is not just me actually just spewing this is what I truly believe. I mean, my mother, my grandmother, God rest her soul, were two of my biggest influence. I think just my overall appreciation for females and the work that goes into it has led me to where I am today.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And that's why, like, I get a lot of people who don't really know about this industry, in general, whether it's cat fights or session wrestling, anything like that. Like, I wish they could see the appreciation that goes into, from guys, from fans, the appreciation that goes forward about things that we do. rather than, I think people see what they want to see as far as what we're doing, since we're sexy and we're looked at as sexy. Like there's nothing wrong with that, and we're freaking tough. I mean, to do a cat fight, it's funny, like, to tell my parents, because they know, everything I do. I'm proud of it. I tell them, there's some issues with them behind that. But for the most part, they're pretty cool. And to say, hey guys, like, I'm getting into cat fighting now. I'm going to be doing like more wrestling women, not, men in hotel rooms. To them, that sounds like, oh, I feel better. You're safer. But I mean, us girls go at each other hard, and starting out with Brutal Beauties is great because, Mark is really, really, into safety and keeping on top of that. And I mean, not all of them are, do you know what I mean? So you kind of got to be careful who you get involved in with this, but even, being all about safety, I mean, people get hurt. I mean, the scratches on Cat's breast afterwards were like, I mean, us girls that do this are tough. Not everybody can, So it's more than just being sexy.
Exactly. Man, I think you all show your toughness, and I'm going to say this to you. I see what you've done with the likes of, and I first and foremost, Jennifer Thomas, who's an LFC Jenny Bloody Valentine, with what she's done with the session world, and I include you into this. All you ladies have an integral part, but I also had to give a shout out to the guys like Hans Vanderkool. I'm talking about Duels. Hell, even Washington Wrestle Talk Podcast, Mike Jolly, Broski there. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that work hard and put their bodies on the line and go into it with the also, like you mentioned, Mark, I'll use the 2 S words because he's big in safety, safe and spectacular. So that's how you have to keep it when you go into these things. So yeah, that's what I meant. Like, Mark wants to keep it safe and spectacular. So I mean, those are the 2 key elements that make it them all up.
Right. I think I lost you for a second. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'll repeat it. I just repeated what I was saying about the safe and spectacular, and just showing love to everybody in the session community, from Hans, from Duels, from even Mike Jolly, the broski there on the Washington Wrestle Talk podcast. So I mean, you just got to give it up for everybody, and I include you in that part.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, men and women, and the longer I do this, the more I see, the inner workings of it, from getting to know producers and other wrestlers and podcast guys. And like, first of all, not only is everybody doing this work extremely hard, I mean, if you're going to get anywhere with it, you have to. Mm-hmm. But I've never met in my life a better group of people. I mean, my family can have their view of this how they want. Like, these people I've met doing this, even like when we did the cat fights, and I got to meet Sarah Brooke and Ava Simone, who I kind of reconnected with. I had met her before, and Safa. Who else was there? And then of course, what you've mentioned already. Like, I walked into a group of them, and I just felt like I was home with my people. Like, I just saw the connection, and I don't know. I feel like we're just, for the most part, good people, and I'm proud to, finally feel like I found where I can fit in and where I can excel and try new things and take it, push my limits, and I can take it as far as I want, and I plan to. I've had some setbacks over the last year. I had some personal things go on with my family, but things are coming around, and I'm real excited for the future.
And the future is bright for you, Miss Chloe Cummings. And another name I'll mention there, Megan Jones. I know you've done some stuff with Megan, so there's another one to add to that list that you mentioned. Megan Jones is absolutely incredible at what she does.
Yeah. Oh my God. She's like, and I told her, like, she was great to meet and work with, her and Tara Mizzou. And I mean, that's somebody who I look at, like, even before I met her, I look at what she does and how she does it, and I'm just in awe of her. Like, she's got, from a business standpoint, from an organizational standpoint, how she puts everything together. I know she recently tweeted something. She was kind of like hard on herself, or like mad that she couldn't do it all. And I'm like, wow, this girl, I mean, I don't know anybody that, aside from like Jennifer Thomas, that does it better. And with Jennifer, it's a little bit different, but like, I don't know, she's a great example. She's a great role model. She's a really fun person to be around. Once again, a connection. As soon as I met her and Paramadu, and we got to do videos for people and had a session, and it's just great. I love meeting these people.
Well, I'm going to tell you something right now, and a couple final things. I'm just going to say this to you. I've had the pleasure and privilege of speaking with you and talking to you and interacting with you. So I'm going to say this to you. Anytime you want to come back on this show, you are more than welcome to, Ms. Chloe Cummings.
Well, that is awesome. Thank you. I was honored that you wanted me to in the first place. So sure, I'd love to.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about these shows, man. We give people the platform to tell their stories, and I think you've told it beautifully. And there's a lot to learn because you've gone through some ups, you've gone through some downs, but you're here, you're healthy, you're here today, you're here to kick ass, you're here to take names, and you're a consummate pro. And I think you're going to be the future's bright for you, like I mentioned. So I just want to see you continue to succeed and shine.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of things planned. I amped up my travel schedule, so I have booked August pretty full. I leave for Phoenix tomorrow, and I'll be in Phoenix. I'm not going to blank here. Vegas, Phoenix, Vegas. Where's the other city? And, Denver. And then later in the month, I'm going to Detroit, Chicago, and Minneapolis, taking a little tour, Des Moines, St. Louis, Louisville, and then home. But I booked that pretty full. September, I'm going to put, a bunch of cities in there, get out more. I'm excited. I'm excited to take this further. I feel like, the LSD, I'm going to fill out the application for it. I'm a perfectionist. So I feel like everything I do has to be perfect. I have to be perfectly ready for it. I have to be perfectly in shape, you know what I mean? And like, so I work really hard for everything, and I put a lot of pressure on myself, but I'm going to use that to better myself and to keep growing. I mean, you only live once. Like, I'm not going to be able to do this forever. I would like, starting with like transforming my body, like, and I'm going to kind of tweak that transformation there. Not that I'm in shape now, I am, and obviously you read my reviews or like heard about me like I am, and I do really well, but I'd really like to take it further and, look at some of the women that inspired me, like Jennifer Thomas, and Ava Simone, who I was remarking that I was going to have her butt by next month. She's like, honey, I worked more than a month to get this butt, but like I want to be the best I can be at this, and to be a part of the LSD at some point. I mean, I would feel like I arrived, So I'm gonna do what I can. I mean, I've got it in me. I never knew that I did. I think this is my calling. And go where it leads.
I'll say this to you, first and foremost, that's a great attitude to have. And personally, like I said, I'd love to see you a part of Lingerie Fighting Championship 1 LFC. Because I'll tell you this to you right now, the common misconception that people have LFC, again, it's just, these girls in lingerie, and they're looking sexy, but there's a lot of work that goes into it from the training. I look at Las Vegas, where a lot of the events are. You got Syndicate MMA there, where, Stephan Bonner, Roxanne Modafferi, and UFC was trained there. We got a guy by the name of Greg Frito, who's helped train a lot of the girls. Greg Frito was mentored by Floyd Mayweather Sr. there in Las Vegas. So there's a lot of training that goes into it for these shows. And I mean, look at Jennifer Thomas, like we mentioned, aka Jenny Bloody Valentine, Allie Parker, Allie Baby Doll Parks, and we have a lot of new people that just came in, like Katie Forbes, who was the girlfriend of Rob Van Dam, who was on Wow Women of Wrestling. We've seen a lot of old faces come back as well. But if you have the drive, the passion, and the attitude, like I could tell you that you have, I think you'll do absolutely wonders for LFC for future events in Las Vegas. Hell, even if they go back to, I've been hoping for a UK event. I mean, Bratislava, they got to go to Slovakia for an event. I mean, why not get back into the international market or add more to your repertoire? So personally, I think you do wonders in LFC, Ms. Chloe Cummings.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm working towards it. I would love to, and doing it somewhere, the international part, bringing it there, like, oh, that'd be sweet, if they do that. I just think it's it's something to work for, and yeah, I mean, it's more than us looking sexy. I mean, that is definitely not to be, put down anyway, because there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we as women, we are, a certain sexiness that a guy isn't, and that is part of the appeal. But there's so much more that goes into it, and yeah, all the women that do this and that are successful with it and take it places. I mean, we're tough girls, and we work hard. We work hard business-wise. We work hard, health-wise, like training. I'm going to be doing. I'd love to do more training. I haven't had a whole lot of formal training at this point, although I have learned a lot through sessioning and a little bit of training here, a little bit of BJJ there, to be able to, my life got kind of disrupted with kind of what went on last year, but to be able to do more of that stuff and I've had people tell me, like, oh my God, if you just had like some, formal training on top of what you already have, like, you'll be, unbeatable. Like, so, I'm sure there's always somebody who's going to beat me, but I'd like to be out there in those ranks of the women who, who are looked at like that and who take it far. And, yeah, and I am tough, and I never really knew that about myself, but it's also obvious right now, and I'm going to do what I can, and, as much as I can.
Well, I look at it like this. You've seen people in the session world like Bella Inc. just do LFC. I know Maria Romano, Hazel, looks to be coming in very soon. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that do session that have been, in LFC, and a lot of session wrestling that applies to LFC. There's MMA, there's wrestling, there's jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of art forms that go into LFC. So, I mean, like I said, if you just keep doing what you're doing, and I love what you're doing, and I think you're absolutely going to be amazing at what you do, just stay on your path and shine, I think is the only thing that I could say to you. And we've accomplished a lot in the time that we've had. So I just got to say this to you with the utmost sincerity and respect. I truly wish you nothing but love and happiness.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you were very welcome. I mean that with the utmost sincerity, and I gotta say this to you, Chloe Cummings, because as someone who's in session wrestling, you're learning a lot, you're absorbing, you're adapting, you're evolving as a person and as an overall competitor. What advice would you give to anybody that wants to pursue a career in the session wrestling industry and just do what you do and a lot of guys and gals do in the session wrestling community? What advice would you give?
I would, it's funny you mentioned that, because I actually just did some shooting for Mark for his production company, not the Catfight side, but anyway, her name's Laurie, and she's new, and I told her, I gave her my number, I gave her some little advice there, on how to just get started, because she hasn't done like the sessioning part really yet, but I guess, not to give up. Like if it seems hard in the beginning, if you feel like you're not going anywhere, or like nobody's ever going to notice you, like, to get noticed, I did a lot of traveling. I mean, I did a lot of traveling. I worked hard on putting out a lot of social media. I mean, I worked my ass out. I worked as hard as I could, and to keep going with it, and to not let other people's perception of what the job is affect you wanting to do it. Because a lot of people, they start and then they quit because, so-and-so doesn't like it, or so-and-so thinks it's something else, and, people are looking at you funny. Let them look at you funny. I mean, what are you going to do? Like, if somebody doesn't want to understand or educate themselves on this whole world, then, then that's on them, and then they don't really know. Like, I'm very proud of what I do, and anybody who, starts this should be proud of what they're doing too, and you can take it as far as you want. Traveling definitely gets you out there if you're able to, but there's other things you can do, and I guess that's pretty much what I would tell somebody.
Again, beautifully said, and I got to say this to you. Chloe Cummings, you are appreciated, you are loved, And I gotta say, once again, you've been an absolute blast to speak with tonight. I look forward to working with you again. But before we even close this out, I'm gonna step back. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, let everybody know where they can follow Miss Chloe Cummings on social media. Plug your upcoming events. The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, my Instagram was actually shut down, so we're not going to worry about that right now.
Oh,
I might start a new one. I'm very careful with what I put on there, so I'm not really sure how that happened. But my Twitter, which I'm on a lot and do a lot of work on, is at the Mighty Chloe C, and that's a great place to follow me. I'm also on Fashion Girls as just Chloe, and that has my travel schedule on it. I pretty much mentioned the places that I'm going this month. Next month, I'd like to get down to Florida. I'd like to do a New England trip. The next couple of months, I'd like to go up to Toronto. I mean, I'm going to be doing, a lot of traveling. So, there's also a place on Fashion Girls. If somebody wants to follow my travels, they can sign up for that. And it'll just shoot them an email when I'm traveling somewhere, so that they don't miss me. But sometimes it's hard for me. I get a lot of emails. Sometimes it's hard for me to track, to get to the old people who, maybe weren't paying attention and seen before, and, that's a good way to do it. That's kind of how someone can keep track of me and see what I got going on. And I'm planning to I'm working on getting videos done right now for my clip store, so I'd like to do more customs. I'm going to start advertising for that more. That is one of the most fun things right now that I'm doing. I absolutely love it. And I have me and Delight and Kat are actually going to do a store together, and so we're building up some videos to get started. And the ideas we have for things we're going to do, it's pretty cool. There's a whole other side of me I didn't know was there. I mean, I knew I could act, right? Because I'm very into a lot of role play stuff, and I want to do that in my videos a lot. But I didn't know I had this creative side. And then I also learned things when somebody asks for a custom, and then their creativeness and mine combined for ideas in the future and what we can give them. I feel like what I've given people so far has been, very high quality stuff, and I'm pretty excited about that too. So I'd like people to kind of keep an eye on that. Our store coming up, and I'd love to get some more customs. So you can just contact me through email for that, which is blanking my email. It's on Fashion Girls. Chloe Rosser Goddess, I believe. Sometimes I get that confused with what my Instagram's name is, because it's close, and I am still a little bit nervous. So, 1 second here.
no problem. But I will put the
Chloe
link.
Cummings Wrestler. Chloe Cummings Wrestler at yahoo.com.
Okay.
So you can see there as well.
I will put the her email in this, as well as the Session Girls profile and the Twitter. That's wonderful. Everything will be everywhere, so everybody can be accessible and check out the lovely Miss Chloe Cummings. So I got you covered, so no worries. And again, I just got to say this to you once more. It's a pleasure. It's a privilege. And do you have any final words for your the fans and supporters of the mighty Chloe C, Miss Chloe Cummings? What do you got to say to your fans?
Just that how much I appreciate the support that everybody has given me, and and the guys who have really, there's quite a few guys who've really kind of been with me along the way, and who really who kind of kept me going when I felt like I couldn't keep up with things or it wasn't enough. That's also where it's at. So I appreciate everybody that I've sessioned with, and honored by anybody who wants to session with me, and I try my best, and I think I do a pretty good job at giving the best session that I can, for people, and just the guys who have gotten me to work with other girls too by ordering customs from me. That's how I met Megan. Somebody ordered a custom. Those guys have been really good too. So, it's cool to have fans, and they're, genuine people. Some I get to know more than others, and it's been a great experience, and how I can do this, you know. So like I owe it all to them. So thank you, everyone.
Again, beautifully said from a beautiful and very talented human being. So Chloe Cummings, for Mike Larkin, this has been another edition of On the Mic with Mike, and I will say this to you once more, Chloe Cummings. It's a pleasure. It's a privilege. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Mike. Have a good night.
All right. Talk to you guys in the next episode.